We're taking another trip to the mill. Part of Jake's job is making feed for the dairy cows that live on his family's dairy farm. Jake turns on the leg and the trough auger. Then he turns on the auger to the Milo bin. An auger is shaped like a screw and turns around and around. It's also called a screw conveyor. As it turns, it pushes the grain forward to where it needs to be. If you look into the space in the floor, you can see the auger turning. The Milo leaves the bin and gets pushed into the grain leg, which takes it into the mixer. This is where Jake measures out how much Milo is needed for his feed recipe. When we learned about the mill in the last video, Jake showed us how he roasts soybeans before using them as an ingredient in feed. This Milo was roasted in the same way before it was available to use. This is the mixer, where all of the ingredients are going. The Milo continues to move from its storage bin into the mixer. Watch as the auger pushes it. When Jake thinks he has moved enough Milo into the mixer, he turns off the auger to get ready for the next ingredient. Before moving on to the next one, he checks the scale to see how much Milo is in the mixer. Watch the numbers on the screen go up as the Milo is weighed. Jake needs 750 pounds of Milo for the recipe he is following. But the numbers keep going up, and he has too much Milo in the mixer. It's important for Jake to follow the recipe. He needed 750 pounds of Milo, but he has over 1,000. He'll have to take some out. He pulls a lever that changes where the grain elevator empties into, making sure that the extra Milo will end up back into its correct bin. Then he moves the extra Milo out of the mixer. Now that the Milo is correctly measured, Jake can move on to the next ingredient. He changes the destination of the grain elevator again, because he wants the next ingredient to go into the mixer. The corn is on a different side of the mill from where the Milo was, so Jake changes the direction of the trough auger as well and turns it on. The corn begins to move into the mixer with the help of the auger pushing it as it spins. You can hear the corn as it drops into the mixer, and the numbers begin to increase on the screen as the weight of the corn is added to the Milo already in the mixer. Jake will pay attention to these numbers again to make sure he continues to follow the recipe. You can see through the window in the mixer that the two ingredients are already beginning to mix. Jake continues to watch the numbers on the screen to make sure he's getting the correct amount of corn into the mixer according to what the recipe says. He walks over to the control panel, making sure that he's still watching the numbers so he knows when to turn the auger off and close the corn bin. It's important that Jake follows the recipe as closely as he can so that the cows are getting the right amount of nutrition so that they can produce milk. Jake turns a wheel that controls the turn head, the point at the top of the mill that directs ingredients into different bins. Jake opens the slide, the base of the mixer, so that the mixture will move into a bin to be ground. You can see the numbers counting down on the display as the ingredients leave the mixer. The ingredients enter this bin on their way to the hammer mill. A hammer mill grinds grain into smaller pieces, similar to how wheat becomes flour. As you can see, making feed is a very dusty job. Once all of the ingredients are out of the mixer, Jake turns it off. Jake turns a wheel to direct the feed into the correct bin, and he turns on the hammer mill. Jake opens up the slide, and the feed ingredients go into the hammer mill to be ground. Here, Jake shows us what the Milo and corn mixture looks like after it has been ground. Now, Jake prepares to add Energy Booster, an ingredient that comes bagged from a special farm store. Energy Booster adds fat to the cow's food, It helps the cow produce delicious milk and keeps them healthy. Jake cuts the bags open and adds them to the mixer from this grate in the floor. He adds 9 bags of the energy booster. Jake checks the recipe to make sure he's adding the correct amount of energy booster. The final ingredient is roasted soybeans. Jake turns on the auger and pushes them into the mixer. The ground Milo and corn get added back into the mixer, and everything gets mixed together. Now that all of the ingredients are being added back together inside the mixer, Jake needs the amount to be 6,000 pounds. Jake has finished making the feed. It's ready for the truck. He climbs up the back of the feed truck and opens the lids to the bins to prepare for filling the truck. Finally, Jake turns on the pit auger and changes the destination to send the feed into the truck. The contents of the mixer pour into the feed truck. Jake knows that the mixer is emptying as he watches the numbers on the mixer display count down to 0. When the truck is loaded up with feed, Jake closes the lids and drives the feed to the farm.